What's good? It's your boy 2K here. Shout out to the movement and everybody who's moving with us. We already knew what was up, man. Us at the movement, we already knew what the real deal was. If you go to my man Bo from Truth and Facts About Boxing, you go to his YouTube channel. If you go to Blog Talk Radio, look up Four Corners Boxing Talk. Check out my man C-Bone Henderson over there. We've interviewed Regis Prograis more than a few times. You know what I'm saying? And actually, on the old defunct podcast that we used to have called The Movement, we actually interviewed him twice, I believe 2 years ago. So over the course of 2 years, if we're counting, we probably interviewed Regis a good 6 to 8 times. And the reason being is because we already knew Regis was going to be the future at 140 pounds in the absence of Terrence Crawford, right? Crawford, of course, has been expressing his move to 147 since 2015, right? And we knew, okay, once he leaves, if he becomes undisputed, which he ultimately did, and then ends up leaving, well, Regis Prograis is the next guy to step up. Not Amiri Imam, not Jose Ramirez, not Julius Ndongo, not Victor Postal, Regis Prograis. And y'all know why we thought this based on what happened last night, right? I'm gonna do a quick little breakdown. Ain't shit to break down, really. Shit only lasted 2 rounds. But Regis really didn't have to do much to get Ndongo the fuck out of there, right? Now, I will say this. Ndongo actually looked pretty good the entire first round leading up to the knockdown. You know what I'm saying? He did a good job, for the most part, electing to stay on the outside, pumping the jab. And when Regis would get too close, he did a good job of pivoting. You know what I'm saying? He would pivot and he would time up. Did a good job of that. But towards the end of the first round, he started trying to fight in the pocket. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem with a lot of these fighters, man. They don't really have the IQ to continue doing what really works. And I said this to my man Corey. Shout out to my man Corey. I kind of gave him like a small prediction of what I thought was going to happen. Of course, I picked Regis to win the fight. But I gave him a small prediction, and one of the things I said about Ndongo is he likes to use his entire height and reach advantages, right? In this fight, he had a 2.5 inch height advantage and a 4.5 inch reach advantage, right? He likes to utilize all of that, but he really harps on his herky-jerkiness. That's how he feels he can actually get the advantage on his opponent, right? And part of his herky-jerkiness is his wide hooks, you know, how he moves his upper body, you know what I'm saying, how he weaves. When he pivots, he throws hooks out of the pivot, you know what I'm saying, and he squares up a lot on the inside, and he's just really just brawling with you, and then he'll tie you up. You know, that's that herky-jerkiness that he has. But I said that if there's a fighter in there that is not deterred from what they want to do in the ring because of his herky-jerkiness, then he doesn't know how to adjust to that fighter, able to either make adjustments based on his style, right, or to continue doing what he's doing because he feels he doesn't need to make those adjustments. Julius Ndongo doesn't know how to adjust to that. If somebody can actually get past his herky-jerky style, he's done. And that's exactly what we saw against Terrence Crawford, and that's exactly what we saw against Regis Prograis, right? But he did a good job for the most part. I had him winning the first round until he squared up on the inside and got caught to the body. I believe it was the same shot Terrence Crawford hit him with, if I'm not mistaken, that knocked him out. I've only saw that fight once. YouTube, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a body shot that ended the whole thing. And Regis Prograis knew that Julius Ndongo, even though my man got a 6-pack on him, he's still susceptible to the body. He don't like it there. Most of us don't. But he can't take those shots very well. And not only did he know that, but Regis Prograis' game plan was to keep Julius Ndongo from moving, so he was putting water in the tank. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he did in that first round, and ultimately, fortunately for him, it ended up being a knockdown, at least the first knockdown of the fight, right? Then coming into the second round, Julius Ndongo was doing the same shit. He was winning the fucking round, doing the same thing he was doing for at least, what, 2 minutes and 10 seconds of the first round. Did the same thing beginning of this round, right? But you could slowly see the tide turning in that second round as Regis Prograis was starting to walk him down. He's starting to walk him down. He's putting water in the tank. And Julius Ndongo was no longer moving as much, right? He started staying a little bit too long in the pocket. And he was getting, he was actually getting to the point where it was like, damn, them body shots are breaking me down, dog. Now I'm going to have to fight with this motherfucker. That's what you actually saw, right? And that's ultimately what led to the second knockdown, which Julius Ndongo was kind of in range. He was at mid-range distance. He threw the jab, and Regis Prograis simply came over his jab with the straight left hand that put him down. Then when he gets back up, in reality, man, how many times he get knocked down? 4 times in this fight. So he gets knocked down 2 more times after the second knockdown. But see, the thing is, Julius Ndongo never recovered his legs from the second knockdown, right? So when he gets back up, all Regis had to do was step in and throw a left hook. And Julius Ndongo wasn't moving. He was staying right there because he couldn't move. He didn't have the legs. So instead of him actually trying to move to his left or circle to his left to get away from Prograis' power hand, which is the left hand, he just stayed there and tried to throw a left hook to the body. But Prograis' left hook to the head ended up reaching him first, and that knocked him right back down. That was the second knockdown, right? Then, of course, you got the third knockdown where if you watch that shit, dog, the fucking punch didn't even land. It didn't land. Go back. This video's on YouTube. The fight, the full fight's on YouTube. Go to fucking YouTube, pick a fucking video, right? Pick a channel to watch the video on, and then put that shit at like 0.25 speed. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see that Regis Prograis never even landed the punch. He actually came out after the second knockdown and did the same sequence that got him the second knockdown. Took a step in, threw the left hook. He did that to get the third knockdown. I mean, the fourth knockdown, excuse me. And when he threw it, Julius Ndongo was already dropping, and he had already dipped because he was getting ready to fall to the mat. Basically, he already had the mental mindset like, nigga, I'm falling to the mat. Fuck this shit. You know what I'm saying? And the punch actually went behind Ndongo's head. It never landed. Now, what this shit reminded me of, man, if any of y'all got kids, and if any of y'all know how to instill the correct discipline in your kids, meaning you spank your motherfucking kids, right? Have y'all ever got the belt? You know, you're talking to your kid like, man, well, why did you do that? Didn't I tell your motherfucking ass not to do that no more? I told you not to do that. Go get my belt. Right? Y'all all know what I'm talking about. That's been disciplined the right way. Right? Go get my belt, or go get a switch. Kid goes and gets the belt, gets the switch, right? You get that motherfucker. You just raise your hand, and the kid automatically falls to the ground. That's exactly what the fuck Julius Ndongo did on that fourth knockdown. Word up, fam. This motherfucker stepped in. Prograis just stepped in, you know, raised his hand as if he was getting ready to throw the left hook, and Ndongo was already falling to the fucking mat. That's exactly what happened. So, and it's partly because he didn't have his legs from the second knockdown, right? But in reality, he was ready to go. And that's exactly what he did, man. He checked out. But it's good for him. In this case, it was a correct decision. Because, man, he would have got his motherfucking head knocked into the first row if he didn't check out. You know what I'm saying? So, Regis Prograis becomes the interim WBC champion. He is the mandatory for the winner of Amiri Mom versus Jose Ramirez. Now, I had Regis Prograis beat neither one of those guys any fucking way. But he matches up better, in my opinion, against Amiri Mom, simply because I think that's an easier fight for him. Jose Ramirez is not going to back down from Regis Prograis. He's actually going to come forward on him. He's going to go to the body a lot, just like Regis likes to go to the body a lot, right? But Amiri Mom, he has that wide-ass stance, kind of like an Adrian Broner type of stance, where he elects to be in a wide stance, and he's in a shoulder roll. And he can sit there in a fucking shoulder roll in the middle of the ring trying to counterpunch people with either the straight left hand or the straight right hand. That's one thing Amiri Mom has. He has power in both hands. But the thing that I don't like about him is that if you apply pressure to him, much like Adrian Broner, he can't move away from the pressure because his stance is too fucking wide, right? So his footwork is basically non-existent. Also, if you push him back far enough, which this is what Fidel Maldonado was able to do, and ultimately what Adrian Granados did to get the win. if you push him back far enough and get him up against the ropes, you can trap him there. And I think Regis Prograis will have no problems doing that shit to Mary Mom. So that would be a bad matchup for Mary Mom, but a great one for Regis Prograis, right? So after the fight, of course, Regis called out Mikey Garcia. He's saying he wants Mikey Garcia to fight. Of course, Garcia will be fighting Sergey Limp Nuts tonight. I believe on Showtime, if I'm not mistaken. Mikey Garcia should easily beat Mr. Limp Dick. You know what I'm saying? Capture the IBF title at 140 pounds. But see, the problem here for Regis Prograis is that he is not ranked in any other major sanctioning body but the WBC, right? And to be honest with you, I didn't even look at the WBC rankings, but it doesn't really matter. Him holding the interim belt automatically makes him the mandatory, right? So we'll just say he's the mandatory for the WBC, but the IBF, WBA, and the WBO, they don't have him ranked. But see, the thing is, he might be able to get that Mikey Garcia fight because the IBF doesn't have Mikey Garcia ranked either ahead of this fight with Sergey Limp Dick. You know what I'm saying? So as long as Mikey Garcia is not ranked, well, then Regis Prograis can have a case to say, hey, you sanctioned that fight to be a title fight, and the guy who ends up winning the belt, he wasn't ranked prior to that fight happening. I'm not ranked prior to this fight happening, but it's a good fight. It could be a good money fight for both guys. Regis Prograis basically just put the 140-pound division on notice. He turned a lot of heads last night, so let's make the fight. That could be his case, right? And then, of course, he's also called out Terrence Crawford and Adrian Broner. He had a long-standing beef with Adrian Broner. And, you know, Adrian Broner has said some things back, but at the end of the day, Broner's not really focused on Prograis because he's in between 140 and 147, and he's looking at the bigger heads to get the bigger money fights. So that's all Adrian Broner's in it for right now. I mean, I don't think Broner would duck Prograis. I think he'd fight Prograis if the money's there. You know what I'm saying? And right now, for even though Adrian Broner is a disappointment to everybody in the game, you know, basically his prestige level, meaning the amount of money that this motherfucker brings in, regardless of how many hate him and how many love him, he brings in a lot of money, puts asses in the seats. At that prestige, he's not going to be looking at a Regis Prograis for his next fight or any fight in the future until Prograis, his name, gets a lot bigger. And winning the way he did last night, that shit is inevitable. You know what I'm saying? So really, all Prograis, in my opinion, should do is just wait on the winner of Amiri Mom and Jose Ramirez. And he's already expressed that he feels he could beat both those guys very easily. I think he beats Amiri Mom pretty easily. I think he runs right through him. You know what I'm saying? And I think he does beat Jose Ramirez, but I think he'd have a little bit of trouble in that fight. But I think he should just wait for that, man. That's a good opportunity for him to become a world champion. You know what I'm saying? That's an easy title pickup for him. Go ahead and wait for that fight. Get that WBC title. Then you got more to come to the negotiation table with when you try to get guys like Broner or Garcia. You feel me? So that should be his thing. But if we're looking at future matchups at 140, man, of course you got Rances Barthélemy, who will also be fighting tonight on the undercard of Sergey Limp Dick versus Mikey Garcia. You know, Rances Barthélemy, he's 26-0. He's fighting the rematch against Cairo Relic. Can't say his name right, but I really don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? It's a rematch with him, a fight that he probably should have lost the first time. And the reason being, man, is because Rances Barthélemy, man, gives up his height and reach. He decides to fight in the pocket, and I know why he's doing it. He's trying to rally up the crowd. He's trying to get a lot of the fan base in his corner. You know what I'm saying? Because if he fights the way that he normally fights, he understands that he's not going to be as popular as he probably wants to be. So he's trying to entice the average fan to basically like him. You know, say, hey man, I sit in the pocket. I throw punches. You know what I'm saying? I brawl, nigga. Well, the problem is it's backfiring on him because people are thinking he's losing these fights, right? Denis Shafikov and Cairo Relic, they're thinking he's losing these fights. So it's actually backfiring him. He's not getting the actual support that he thinks he should get. So, man, just fight the way that you're supposed to fight. Beat these motherfuckers up. The way you fought Argenis Mendez the first and the second time, that's how the fuck you need to fight. And when Rances fights like that, that's a dangerous motherfucker right there. If he fights like that all the time, well then shit, him and Regis will be neck and neck as far as who the next guy at 140 is going to be. But that's an excellent fight. And it's also a fight that I wouldn't mind seeing in the near future once Regis Prograis picks up that WBA vacant title tonight after he beats Kiro Relic. You know what I'm saying? Then, of course, you got Josh Taylor. This is the UK standout, man. Now, I like Josh Taylor when he beat the shit out of O'Hara Davies, right? Knocked him out, I believe, like in the 7th round or something like that. O'Hara Davies was, you know, playing the villain. You know, something that I support 100% as a fighter, man. You know, you shouldn't be that nice guy like Vladimir Klitschko. Cats are going to call you boring all day long. You got to play the villain. You got to have some pizzazz in your personality. You know what I'm saying? You got to have some spunk. You got to have niggas not liking you. Shit, this is how I run my fucking YouTube channel. Niggas don't like me, but they come back and listen. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of way you should be as a fighter. Fuck who likes you, doesn't like you. You know what I'm saying? Be you. If you that villain type nigga, then be that villain type dude. And that's the one thing I did respect about O'Hara Davies, but Josh Taylor didn't give a fuck. He went out there, completely outclassed O'Hara Davies and knocked him out. But the fight that really has me excited about him was him being the first guy to knock out Miguel Vasquez. That's an excellent fucking win for him. Miguel Vasquez fought Canelo Alvarez twice in his career, and in one of those fights he was severely at a disadvantage in terms of weight. And we all know why now. Canelo was able to fight at 135 pounds at one point in time because of that clenbuterol. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, you know, he was severely outweighed by Canelo. It was ridiculous. And he still didn't get knocked out in that fight. But Josh Taylor was able to knock him out with a body shot. So I really became excited about Josh Taylor after he beat Miguel Vasquez. That's another excellent fight for Regis Prograis. And then, of course, you got Antonio Orozco. He's 26-0. And he'll be returning, you know, March 16th out in the card in LA. Now, the thing with Antonio Orozco, he's pretty good, but there's an asterisk next to him because he's pretty much feasted on a bunch of bum-ass niggas and then cats that were former champions that are now washed up that probably need to retire, like Miguel Acosta, Humberto Soto, Steve Forbes, etc., right? You know, guys that were once prominent fighters that are now a little bit, not even a little bit, they're well over the hill, and he's gone in there and beat those guys. And it makes it look like his resume is a good one because he's beating those named fighters. But in reality, those guys were not even a shell of their former self. They wasn't even a shadow of their former self. Their former self was just in another life. You know what I'm saying? So he can't get that much credit for those type of wins. So he's going to have to step it up in order for us to properly gauge whether or not he is the fighter that we think he is. But if he is, that's definitely another excellent matchup for Regis Prograis. So go ahead and do your research on those three guys I just mentioned that are, and I wanted to mention those guys because outside of, you know, the obvious Mikey Garcia, you know, Victor Postal, Mary Mom, Jose Ramirez, outside of those obvious guys, these other three guys are another entities at 140 pounds that can actually give Regis Prograis some problems possibly if they were able to fight. So go ahead and do your research. YouTube, let me know what you think about this fight tonight, or last night anyway. Do you believe Regis Prograis is the next motherfucker at 140 pounds? Also, don't forget about the fights tonight. Mikey Garcia versus Sergey Limp Dick. And then you got Regis Prograis versus Kiro Relic. You know what I'm saying? Some good fights on tonight. I will be doing a recap. Alright? YouTube, do what you do in the comment section. Be real. Just real talk for real fans. One.